The stars were pale diamonds scattered across the velvet black sky. As the human ship descended through the thin atmosphere of the alien planet, the hum of the engines vibrated through the hull, a steady reminder of the fragile technology keeping them alive in a world that had never known humans. Commander Elias Kane stood at the observation deck, his eyes scanning the rugged landscape below. Jagged cliffs, barren plains, and scattered ruins stretched as far as he could see. Somewhere out there, life had survived, but what kind of life? He did not yet know. Sensors are picking up signs of habitation, said Lieutenant Mara Fields, her voice calm but tense. Structures ahead, possibly organic life forms, but the readings are inconsistent. Elias frowned, adjusting his visor. Inconsistent how? Could be a natural formation. Could be artificial, Mara replied. Hard to tell with all the interference from the terrain. Elias nodded. Prepare a landing team. We'll approach cautiously. The shuttle detached from the main ship and descended through swirling clouds of dust. The landscape grew sharper, revealing twisted trees, blackened soil, and the remnants of a city half swallowed by time. There were no signs of normal life, no animals, no birds, no moving shadows. It felt quiet. To quiet dot as they landed, Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen desolate worlds before, but this one carried a sense of suffering, of desperation frozen in the air. They stepped out, the crunch of their boots echoing across the empty plains. Then, from a distance, movement caught Mara's eye. A figure stumbled across the open ground, holding something small in her arms. As they approached, the details became horrifyingly clear. The figure was a woman, her skin pale and eyes hollow, dragging the frail children behind her. Their clothes were torn, their bodies thin and weak. She fell to her knees in front of the humans, trembling, desperate. Please, she whispered, her voice breaking. My children, they haven't eaten for days. Please, feed them. I will be yours forever if you save them. Elias instinctively reached for his communicator, but then paused. The woman's words were strange, almost frightening, but the fear in her eyes, the trembling of her body, the weakness of the children, it was real. He looked at Mara, who shook her head slightly. She's telling the truth, she said quietly. We can see it. We can't leave them like this. Elias knelt beside the woman, keeping his hands visible. We can help, he said. But we need to know. Are you dangerous? Are there others with you? The woman shook her head violently. No, no one else. Only my children, only me. Please, I beg you. They are starving. I cannot bear to watch them suffer. Mara motioned to the children. One of them, a boy, barely lifted his head. The other, a girl, clung to their mother's chest, coughing weakly. Their skin was pallid, and their eyes large and watery stared at the humans with a fragile hope. Elias felt a pang in his chest. Humans had survived in the worst of circumstances, had overcome the impossible, but seeing suffering like this, it struck something deep. All right, Elias said. We'll help, but you must trust us. No tricks, no traps, understand? The woman nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, yes, I swear. I only want to save them. They led the woman and her children back to the shuttle. Inside, the warmth and artificial gravity made the children shiver less. Mara prepared rations from the limited supplies they had brought for emergencies. The children ate slowly, at first too weak to swallow, but eventually their tiny hands moved with determination, grasping the food as if their lives depended on it, which, in truth, they did. The woman watched, clutching herself as if she were too afraid to breathe. Thank you, she whispered over and over, her voice hoarse. Thank you, thank you. Elias kept a careful eye on her. What's your name? He asked. Lyra, she said. These are my children, Kale and Nira. Where are you from? Mara asked gently. Your people? Lyra shook her head. There is no one left, not near here. Our villages, destroyed, my husband gone. We have been wandering, searching, hoping for anyone who would help. Elias frowned, wondering for how long. Days, weeks, months. Lyra's voice broke. I do not know. Only that my children, my poor children. She hugged them to her chest. and the humans could feel her despair radiating in waves. The shuttle hummed as they prepared to leave. Elias turned to Mara. "We need to get them somewhere safe. This place, it's dangerous." "Who knows what else is out there?" Mara nodded, agreed. "But Commander, there's something strange. Her readings, the children's readings, they're biologically different, not human. Not exactly like anything we've seen." Elias studied them carefully. Their skin had an unusual hue, almost translucent. Their eyes were larger than normal humans, and their breathing was shallow. Yet there was something undeniably alive, resilient, even in their weakness. He realized what Mara meant: they were alien, yet still human enough to evoke instinctive compassion. As the shuttle lifted, the wind whipped across the barren landscape. Lyra clung to her children, whispering promises she could barely hold onto. "I will be yours forever," she repeated, her voice trembling. Forever. Elias kept his hand near the controls, watching the planet below. The sense of desolation was overwhelming, but there was also hope, strange, fragile hope, carried in the frail forms of two starving children and their desperate mother. "Commander," Mara said, breaking the silence, "we need to decide. What do we do once we get them to the camp? Our resources are limited. If these readings are correct, they may require special care." Elias nodded. "We deal with that when the time comes. Right now, survival comes first. We help them. That is our job, and it is what makes us human." The shuttle flew over jagged cliffs and endless plains, and Elias felt a deep sense of responsibility settle on his shoulders. They had walked into the unknown, and now they were tethered to the fate of a small alien family clinging to life. Whatever dangers awaited them on this planet, one thing was clear: the humans' compassion had been set in motion, and nothing would turn it back. Inside the shuttle, Lyra finally allowed herself to rest, her children cradled in her arms. The pale light of the alien sun cast long shadows across the hull. Elias watched them, thinking about how fragile life could be, yet how fiercely humans, no matter the world, could fight to protect it. But the planet was watching, silent and cold. The ruins and empty plains were not just empty spaces, they were eyes that followed every movement. And the humans, for the first time on this mission, felt the weight of being completely foreign, completely exposed. Elias took a deep breath. "We will protect them," he said aloud, more to himself than anyone else. "No matter what it takes." Outside, the wind howled across the barren land. Somewhere in the distance, a shadow moved, barely perceptible, watching the shuttle vanish into the sky. The story of survival was just beginning. And somewhere deep inside, Lyra whispered again, almost as if speaking to fate itself, "Feed them, and I will be yours forever." The shuttle landed on a plateau surrounded by jagged cliffs and twisted black trees. The humans had chosen a place away from the ruins where they first met Lyra and her children, a location that gave them a good vantage of the surrounding terrain. Commander Elias Kane led the team off the shuttle, scanning the area carefully. Even though it looked quiet, the strange atmosphere of the planet made him uneasy. Mara Fields followed closely, carrying a small medical kit. She had been observing the children since the shuttle ride. Kale and Nira were slowly regaining some strength, but their frailty was still alarming. The rations they had eaten on the shuttle had given them energy, but the long-term effects of starvation could not be reversed with just a single meal. Lyra knelt beside her children, brushing the hair from their faces. "Rest, just rest," she whispered. Her eyes were still red from crying, but there was a glimmer of hope now. "They will be safe. I feel it." Elias stepped closer. "We'll do everything we can," he said. "But you must understand, we're not invincible. This planet, it's harsh. You and your children cannot survive alone here." Lyra nodded. "I understand. I only want to survive. And I will help you. Anything you ask of me." Mara knelt beside her, examining the children. "Commander, their vitals are stabilizing. If we can get proper food and shelter, they may recover fully. But we need to act fast," the humans said. To work quickly, constructing a makeshift shelter from materials brought on the shuttle. Panels of metal were pieced together to form walls, while a thermal blanket provided warmth. Lyra watched silently, helping when she could, her hands trembling as she carried the weaker child. Nearer, into the shelter. Once the shelter was complete, Elias stood outside, scanning the horizon. The plateau seemed peaceful, but his instincts told him otherwise. Mara, keep monitoring them. I'll take a perimeter scan. Something feels off as he walked along the cliff edges. The sensors began to pick up faint movements, small, almost imperceptible shadows moving among the rocks and ruins below. Not animals, he realized, but something intelligent, something watching them. Returning to the shelter, Elias shared the findings. We're not alone. There are others on this planet, and they may not be friendly. Lyra's face went pale. Others? You mean, like my people? Not necessarily, Elias said. We don't know who or what they are, but we need to be careful. You must trust us if we are going to keep your children alive. Lyra nodded again, silently repeating her promise. I will be yours forever. I swear it. Over the next few days, the humans and Lyra settled into a cautious routine. Kale and Nira ate small but frequent meals, their energy slowly returning. Mara administered vitamins and checked their health regularly. Lyra helped with cleaning and organizing, all while keeping a watchful eye on the children. Elias often spent time on the plateau edge, observing the surrounding terrain. The faint shadows he had noticed earlier became more defined. Small figures, humanoid in shape but alien in form, moved between the rocks and ruins, always keeping a distance but clearly aware of the humans' presence. They're watching us, Mars said one evening, joining him. I've been tracking them. They don't approach yet, but they're curious, maybe cautious, or maybe dangerous. Elias nodded. We'll need to prepare. If they attack, we must defend ourselves and these children. Lyra may be able to help, but we can't rely on her fully yet. We need a plan. Lyra, meanwhile, had begun to show her worth. She spoke to Elias about safe paths in the area, locations where the ground was stable and the terrain provided natural cover. Her knowledge of survival was impressive, considering she had been wandering alone for weeks. She also taught the children to recognize dangers and helped Mara monitor their health. One night, while the humans were resting, a faint alarm on the perimeter sensors went off. Shadows moved quickly across the rocks below, approaching the plateau. Elias and Mara grabbed their equipment, weapons at the ready, but Lyra remained calm. They are curious, she whispered. They are not here to fight. Not yet. Wait and see. The shadows halted at the edge of the plateau, revealing humanoid figures with strange, pale skin and large, reflective eyes. They seemed small and fragile at first glance, but there was a subtle intensity in their movements. They observed, silently, tilting their heads as if trying to understand the humans in their strange shelter. Elias kept his weapon trained on them but lowered his stance slightly. We come in peace, he said, his voice firm but calm. We mean no harm. We only care for these children. To his surprise, the alien figures paused, then slowly backed away into the darkness. Mara exhaled. They understood. Somehow, she said. Maybe they are intelligent, but cautious. Not violent, yet the encounter left the humans on edge. They realized that survival on this planet would require more than just shelter and food. They needed to understand the creatures around them, predict their movements, and anticipate danger. Over the next few days, the humans expanded their shelter and fortified it with traps and alarms. Kale and Nira grew stronger each day, their laughter returning slowly. Lyra watched them play and eat, her gratitude unspoken but visible in the softening of her features. But Elias could not shake a growing sense of responsibility. We can help them survive for now, he said to Mara one evening. But if we stay here too long, we may be inviting trouble. This planet, it is not kind. Every life here is a struggle, and we are foreign. That puts us at risk. Mara nodded, agreed. But we also cannot abandon them. These children, they are innocent. Their lives are in our hands. One morning, Lyra approached Elias, her face serious. Commander, there is something you should know. There are others, my people, or what remains of them. They are hungry. They may see your food as theirs. I do not know if they will come peacefully. Elias felt a chill. Then we prepare. But we also need to learn more about them. We cannot just react. We must be strategic. As the sun rose over the jagged cliffs, the humans, Lyra, and the children worked together. They fortified their shelter, rationed food, and studied the landscape. Kale and Nira explored small safe areas under Lyra's watchful eye, learning about the alien world they now called home. Elias often thought about the strange promise Lyra had made. I will be yours forever. It was not a promise of love or servitude, but a pledge of loyalty. And he realized that trust, once earned, could become the strongest weapon in this alien world. Days passed, and the shadows grew bolder, creeping closer to the human shelter. One evening, a group of small alien figures emerged from the ruins, watching silently from a distance. They seemed curious, almost studying the humans' routines. Lyra whispered to Elias, "They are learning, just as you are learning. They are not enemies, yet. But caution, always caution." The humans observed the aliens quietly, trying to understand their intentions. Elias noticed subtle patterns: the way they moved, the pauses in their steps, the way they communicated with each other through gestures. Slowly, a strategy formed in his mind. "They are intelligent," he said to Mara. "We need to approach them carefully. We cannot assume aggression, but we also cannot be careless. Survival here requires understanding and patience." As night fell, the plateau was quiet again. The alien figures retreating into the shadows. Inside the shelter, Lyra held Nira close while Kale rested beside her. Mara monitored the children's vitals, satisfied with their progress. Elias stared out over the cliffs, thinking about the days ahead. This planet had tested their compassion, their strategy, and their courage. But he knew one thing: humans were adaptable, humans were resourceful, and humans never abandoned those in need. He turned to Lyra. "We will protect your children," he said. "No matter what comes." Lyra nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "I know. That is why I came to you. That is why I believed in you, humans." Outside, the wind whispered through the jagged cliffs, somewhere in the darkness. The alien figures watched, silent but aware. The humans had made their choice to protect, to survive, and to endure. And for the first time in weeks, Lyra allowed herself to hope. The planet was dangerous, the future uncertain. But for now, at least, her children would live. And that was enough. The days on the plateau had become a rhythm of survival. Kale and Nira grew stronger with each meal, their laughter slowly returning to fill the shelter with warmth. Lyra moved among them like a shadow of hope, gentle but watchful, while the humans worked tirelessly to fortify their small refuge. But the alien figures in the distance had grown bolder. They no longer stayed hidden behind rocks. Instead, small groups moved deliberately, circling the plateau, observing the humans' routines. Elias noticed subtle patterns in their movements. They were not simply wandering, they were studying, analyzing, learning. One morning, while scouting the nearby terrain, Elias and Mara discovered a narrow canyon leading deep into the cliffs. Strange symbols were etched into the rocks, faintly glowing with a soft blue light. "This wasn't made by nature," Mara said, examining the carvings. "Someone or something made this." Lyra followed them into the canyon, holding Nira's hand. Her eyes widened at the symbols. These are my people's markings," she whispered. "Long ago, before the starvation, before the collapse, our ancestors carved messages like this. They spoke of knowledge, of machines that could sustain life." Elias studied her face. "Machines? What kind of machines?" "Ancient technology," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "They were powerful, capable of creating food, shelter, even protecting against the harsh world outside. But when my people lost it, we lost everything. Starvation, disease, death followed." Mara examined the carvings more closely. "If this text still exists, it could help not only your children, but possibly all life on this planet. But it could also be dangerous if misused." Elias nodded. "We'll need to find it carefully." The trio followed the canyon until they reached a hidden chamber, partially buried under rocks. Inside, faint lights flickered across strange metallic surfaces. Panels hummed softly, covered in dust and debris, but clearly part of some advanced system. Lyra gasped. It's still working. Somehow, Elias moved closer, careful not to touch anything prematurely. What does it do? Lyra approached the control panel, pressing symbols that matched the carvings outside. The hum of energy grew stronger. Light spread across the room, illuminating a series of storage units filled with strange, nutrient-rich pods. Food, she said softly, sufficient for many, enough to feed children, adults. Anyone in need? Mara's eyes widened. This could save them. Kale and Nira, everyone. Elias studied the room. It's not just food. These panels seem to control environmental conditions: air, temperature, water. This could be a shelter, a safe zone. We could adapt it. But Lyra's expression darkened. It is not unguarded. When my people fell into starvation, others tried to take this technology. That is why most of my family, my villages, were destroyed. Only the weak and desperate remained. Elias's jaw tightened. So we are not just finding shelter. We are stepping into a conflict that has lasted generations. Yes, Lyra said. And if they see you here, they may not leave us alone. You must be careful. As they returned to the plateau with plans to secure the chamber, the alien figures approached. This time, they were closer than ever, stepping onto the plateau with slow, deliberate movements. One of them, slightly larger than the others, made a sound that resembled speech. Though it was strange and melodic. Elias held his hand up in a gesture of peace. We do not mean harm. We only want to survive and help these children. The figures hesitated, tilting their heads, studying him. Then, as if understanding his words, they slowly retreated to a distance. Keeping watch but making no aggressive move, Mara whispered to Elias. They're intelligent, and they may recognize that we mean no threat. But if they discover the technology, they may change their minds. Elias nodded grimly. We have to move quickly. Then, over the next few days, the humans and Lyra worked to adapt the hidden chamber into a small refuge. Mara monitored the children's health closely, while Elias organized the storage of supplies and the operation of the ancient machines. Lyra proved invaluable, decoding symbols, operating the panels, and teaching them which systems were safe to use. Kale and Nira explored the chamber with fascination. The pods of food fascinated them. The soft hum of machines filled them with a sense of wonder. For the first time, they were not afraid, not hungry, not weak. They laughed and played, their tiny hands touching the glowing panels, learning without fear. But Elias could not shake a growing unease. The alien figures are still watching, he said one evening. They are learning, and once they understand what we have discovered, they may come for it. Lyra nodded, her face serious. Yes, the technology. It is powerful. Those who seek it will not care about survival. They will take it, by force if necessary. Elias looked at her. Then we need to be ready. We protect the children first, and the technology second. A few nights later, while the humans were resting, the alien figures returned. This time, they came in silence, circling the perimeter of the plateau with precision. Lyra watched from inside the shelter, whispering to the children to stay close. Elias observed them, noting their movements, their spacing, and the way they communicated through gestures. They are organized, he said. They are not a random group. They are a coordinated force. We need to plan for defense, and we need to understand them before conflict begins. Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. We also need to remember, we are still humans. We have compassion, reason, and ingenuity. That is our strength. It is what will help us survive and protect these children. The following day, Elias led a small reconnaissance mission into the canyon once more. The hidden chamber remained untouched by others, but traces of previous intruders were clear: footprints, markings, and minor damage to some of the outer panels. Whoever had been here before had failed, leaving the technology intact. This is why Lyra survived, Elias said quietly. Her knowledge, her intuition, it kept her alive. And now, it can help us survive too. Back at the shelter, the children played near the glowing panels, completely unaware of the danger that surrounded them. Lyra watched, her heart full but anxious. They are too young to understand the risks, she murmured. But they must live. They must see the future. even if I do not know what it will bring. Elias joined her, looking at the children and then at the alien figures in the distance. We will protect them, he said. We will use our knowledge, our skills, our humanity. That is what makes us strong. That is what will keep them alive. Lyra nodded, a small smile breaking through her worry. I will follow your lead, she said. I promised. I will be yours forever. And now, I see that promise is not only about loyalty. It is about survival. Together, we can endure. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the plateau, Elias felt a strange sense of hope. The alien planet was dangerous. The technology they had found was powerful and potentially perilous. But humans had faced worse odds, adapted, and survived. Compassion, strategy, and courage had always guided them, and they would guide them here as well. That night, the alien figures withdrew, leaving the humans and Lyra with a brief moment of peace. The plateau was silent, except for the hum of the machines in the hidden chamber. The children slept peacefully, unaware that their lives were slowly changing, that the mysterious technology would be both their salvation and the key to survival on this alien world. Elias stood at the edge of the cliff, looking out over the darkened terrain. We have done well so far, he said softly, but the next challenge will test us more than anything we have faced yet. We must be ready for them, for the children, for ourselves. Lyra joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. I am ready, she said. For my children. And for you, I will stand with you, always. Elias smiled faintly. Then we face it together, humans and allies. We will endure. We always do. The wind swept across the plateau, carrying with it the distant whispers of a planet full of life, danger, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. The story of survival, loyalty, and human courage was far from over. But for the first time, hope seemed tangible, a fragile light shining against the darkness. And in the warmth of the hidden chamber, the children slept soundly, their bellies full, their hearts safe. For now, the days on the plateau had grown tense. The alien figures no longer merely observed, they were closer, more deliberate in their movements. Elias Kane knew that a confrontation was inevitable. The hidden chamber, with its glowing pods of food and strange machines, was a treasure, a lifeline for the children, and a beacon for anyone who understood its power. Inside the shelter, Lyra watched Kale and Nera play with soft lights emitted by the chamber's panels. Their laughter was pure, a sound Elias had almost forgotten existed in the harsh silence of the planet. It gave him strength. He would protect them, no matter the cost. We need a plan, Mara said, standing beside Elias as they monitored the approaching shadows on the plateau. They are intelligent, coordinated. They will try to take the chamber, whether peacefully or by force. Elias nodded. We'll need to use the terrain, the technology, and our strategy. Lyra, can you help us? Your knowledge of this planet, of your people's technology, could make the difference. Lyra's eyes hardened. I will do anything to protect my children, and I promise to be yours forever. That promise is not empty. I will stand with you. The humans divided their tasks. Mara prepared the children for safety, setting up a secure section within the chamber. Lyra arranged the machines to produce additional light, sound, and thermal traps that could alert them to any movement. Elias and his team set up perimeter defenses along the plateau, using panels, wires, and debris to create obstacles. Every step was calculated, every move planned with precision. As night fell, the alien figures approached. This time, they did not hesitate. They moved in formation, surrounding the plateau, their glowing eyes fixed on the shelter. Elias signaled for silence. Every human and Lyra held their breath. The creatures paused, seemingly communicating through subtle gestures, evaluating the humans' defenses. Then, without warning, the attack began. The aliens moved with surprising speed, climbing over obstacles, attempting to breach the perimeter. Elias and his team responded with defensive measures, light barriers, sound alarms, and carefully aimed energy pulses that repelled the attackers without harming them severely. Mara worked quickly to keep the children calm, while Lyra operated the environmental panels to create distractions, flashes of light, shifts in temperature, and bursts of sound that confused the aliens and disrupted their coordination. Kale and Nira clung to their mother, wide-eyed but safe. The humans' careful planning paid off. The aliens, though persistent, could not penetrate the fortified plateau. Every attempt they made was met with a counter, every move calculated. As Elias and his team adapted in real time, "Hold the line," Elias shouted, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Keep them out of the shelter. Protect the children." Lyra's hands moved over the control panels, activating mechanisms the humans barely understood. The floor emitted pulses that startled the aliens, forcing them back. Thermal vents created bursts of steam, obscuring vision and making it difficult for the attackers to navigate. For the first time, it became clear that the humans and Lyra were not simply defending, they were using the planet and its technology as an extension of themselves. The children, sensing the tension, watched silently. Nira whispered to Kale, "Don't be scared. They will protect us." Kale nodded, holding his sister's hand tightly. Their trust in the humans and Lyra was complete. Hours passed. The aliens tested every angle, every vulnerability, but the humans' preparation held. Slowly, the attackers began to withdraw, realizing that brute force would not work. The humans remained vigilant, monitoring their movements until the shadows finally retreated into the darkness of the cliffs. Elias exhaled, his muscles aching from tension. "It's over. For now." Mara smiled faintly, looking at the children. "They are safe, thanks to all of you." Lyra knelt beside her children, embracing them tightly. "You are safe, my loves, I promised, and I kept it." Elias stepped forward, placing a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You kept your promise, and we kept ours. That is why we survived." Over the next few days, the humans and Lyra worked to further fortify the shelter and the hidden chamber. They began to explore the full potential of the alien technology. The nutrient pods could sustain not only Kale and Nira, but potentially others in need. Environmental controls could protect them from the harsh climate outside. The machines could even enhance communication signals, allowing them to detect approaching threats from greater distances. Through it all, Lyra proved herself invaluable. She taught the humans subtle ways to use the technology, guided them to safe paths in the plateau, and shared knowledge of her people's past. Her loyalty was unwavering, her promise fulfilled. Elias realized that their survival depended not only on technology, but also on trust, cooperation, and humanity. The humans had brought compassion, intelligence, and strategy to the equation. Lyra had brought knowledge, intuition, and loyalty. Together, they had created a force greater than any single individual. One afternoon, as the sun rose over the jagged cliffs, Elias and Mara watched the children play near the glowing panels. Kale ran toward the light, laughing, while Nira followed, her small hands touching the soft hum of the machines. Lyra watched them with a serene smile, the first real peace she had known in weeks. Elias turned to Mara. "This is what it's about," he said quietly. "Not the battles, not the danger, not even the technology. It's about protecting life, helping those who cannot help themselves, and doing what is right, no matter the cost." Mara nodded. "That is what makes humans, humans. We endure, we adapt, and we never abandon those in need. That is our strength." The alien figures, for now, had vanished into the darkness. Elias knew they might return, or other threats might appear. But the humans were ready. They had learned the planet, mastered the technology, and grown stronger together. Lyra approached Elias, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I promised, and you have kept me and my children safe. I am yours forever, as I said. Not out of fear, but out of trust and respect." Elias smiled, placing a hand on hers. "And we trust you, Lyra. You are part of this team now. Together, we survive. Together, we endure." As night fell, the plateau was quiet. The machines in the hidden chamber hummed softly, casting a warm glow over the children as they slept. Outside, the wind whispered over the jagged cliffs, carrying the distant echoes of the alien world. The humans had proven their resilience, their ingenuity, and their courage. They had faced desperation, danger, and unknown threats, and they had prevailed. In that quiet moment, Elias realized something profound. Humans were not the strongest species, nor the fastest, nor the most powerful. But they were determined. They were compassionate. They were intelligent. And when faced with adversity, they adapted, survived, and protected what mattered most. The plateau, once desolate and dangerous, now held life, hope, and loyalty. Kale and Nira were healthy, laughing, and safe. Lyra stood beside the humans, her loyalty unshakable. And the humans, through courage, strategy, and compassion, had proven once again why they endured where others might fail. Elias looked out over the cliffs, thinking of the challenges that still lay ahead. The planet was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But they had learned a lesson that would guide them. With courage, compassion, and ingenuity, humans could survive anywhere, even against impossible odds. The night deepened, stars sparkling above the plateau. For the first time in weeks, Elias allowed himself a moment of peace. They had triumphed not through violence alone, but through loyalty, trust, and humanity. The children slept safely, the shelter stood strong. And the planet, though still dangerous, was a place where life could endure. Lyra whispered softly to the sleeping children, "You are safe. Always. Because of them. Because of us. Because of humans." Elias placed a hand on the control panel, watching the gentle glow of the chamber's lights. "We endure," he whispered. "We always do, and we will continue." Together, outside, the shadows of the alien world lingered in the distance, curious but restrained. For now, the humans had won the day. The plateau was theirs. The children were safe. And humanity had once again proven that even in the harshest of worlds, compassion, courage, and intelligence were forces stronger than any danger. The story of survival, loyalty, and hope had reached a moment of triumph. But the lessons of this alien planet, the value of trust, the strength of empathy, and the power of human ingenuity would guide them far into the future. And as the stars shimmered overhead, the humans, Lyra, and the children slept peacefully, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might bring. Together,